This is a school reopening video for Carbon School District. This video is for parents and guardians. We're going to ask a huge favor of all of our parents and guardians. We ask you to each day make a decision about your student. Is your student sick? And it's maybe a simple question, but we ask that you really put some thought into, is your student sick? If the answer is yes, then we are asking that you please keep the student home. If the answer is no, then we please want you to send the student to school. We need the students physically in school. Now, if a student is kept home, we ask that you notify the school. They need to make some arrangements. They need to find out from you if the student is well enough to join the class remotely, or if they're sick enough to where they're not going to be able to do that. If the student is well enough to join class remotely, then a link will be sent out to them, and the teacher, will make sure they have the information they need. If a student is sent to school sick, they will be sent back home. So just keep that in mind. We really appreciate all of the parents and your support as we work through this. Visitors and volunteers are going to be welcome in school. We hope that visitors and volunteers will come and help out in the school, but we need everyone to check in at the office. We need everyone to understand that as a visitor or a volunteer, you're going to need to have a symptom check, and it will take almost no time at all, but it'll be a very fast temperature check, touchless temperature with our new thermometers. We'll have a small questionnaire regarding symptoms for you to fill out, and obviously whoever's helping with that will do a simple observation and basically check off saying, yeah, they don't look sick to me. We need every visitor and volunteer to fill out a log about where they're going to be in the school. That's required because if there ended up being a positive COVID-19 person in the school, we need to know where they were and who they came in contact with. Just understand that visitors and volunteers are not allowed to eat with students in the cafeteria, so only students and staff are allowed to be in the cafeteria with the students. It's going to be difficult enough with just them. Treats from visitors and volunteers for birthdays, holidays, and other situations are not going to be allowed, unfortunately, until all of this is lifted. For remote learning, we hope that parents and guardians understand that this is an option for you. This is when students can't physically be in school on a temporary basis, whether it's because they're being quarantined or because they aren't feeling well, they have some symptoms, or maybe a family member is high risk and they need to not be in school for a short period of time, maybe a week or two or something like that, or maybe it's just a day. If it's temporary, we can have the student access the class via technology. For example, one scenario is that the student would log on to Google Meet. They would receive an email, and they would join Google Meet, which would allow them to watch the class from home, take notes, do the assignments, do everything just from home instead. That's possible because we're providing all of the teachers the camera, a stand like you see there in the picture, as well as a USB extension so they can place that where they need to. We want all the parents to also understand that if the student is logged on, they are watching the class, then they are present. They'll be marked as present as far as attendance goes in our grading system. Now, virtual learning is a whole different thing. Virtual learning would mean something serious has happened and we have had to send all students home. So there would be no students physically at the school. Now, we don't want to do that. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen at all. But if it is needed, uh, we do have a plan for how that's going to look. Students would access their learning materials virtually. This would be a maximum of 2 weeks. Uh, we don't see any reason why beyond 14 days we would need to keep doing it. At the end of 14 days, healthy kids come back to school. Or maybe even a shorter amount of time. Students in grades 3 through 12 are going to need to have a Chromebook if we institute virtual learning. Kindergarten through second grade students may need a Chromebook, or their teachers may choose to do packets, and we're allowing them to choose that, of course. And, students students need to follow the regular bell schedule, especially our secondary students. That's something we didn't do last year, and it caused some problems. So we want to make sure everyone understands we will be following the regular bell schedule. Elementary students will be using Google Classroom as their learning platform if we go to virtual learning. Secondary students will be using also Google Classroom or Canvas. We're letting the teachers choose which one they want to use. So we will have common platforms throughout the district. For high-risk individuals, specifically speaking of students in this scenario, we require families and students to self-identify by notifying the school. If someone feels like they are high risk for whatever reason, we need you to notify the school. The principal or whoever they've designated. The principal will then work collaboratively with that individual student and their family. They'll have support from district administration, and their job will be to consider all of the options that are available to make sure that the student continues to learn safely. We want them to safely attend school physically, and we can look at options like plexiglass or individual transition times so they're not in the hallway with all the other kids. We can even do remote learning for a temporary solution where they're watching the class from home. We can also do Carbon Online School. Carbon School District has our own online school for those situations where a long-term situation is that the student will not be able to physically be in school. If that's a long-term situation, we now have instituted a new situation in our school district. We have something called Carbon Online School. And there's many other options that we could consider, and we want to do that on an individual basis if someone is high risk.